So I'll start with a general question of new. You've worked on a number of films that have shot in the desert. So New Mexico desert versus West Texas desert versus LA desert. What are the perks to here?
Well, I think one of the things to consider, and it's something that all of us do in locations, is we do a lot of research. So when we hear something is going to be in West Texas, you do research what that desert looks like. We're lucky in the sense that we have it's Chihuahuan desert. So it means that we get very specific looks. Arizona has Sonoran desert. So if something is filming, say, in northern Mexico, we know that our desert is actually going to match northern Mexico. So we do that research. And as you get further east in New Mexico, then you start to get that. It's still Chihuahuan desert, but you do get that particular, West Texas look, the Oklahoma look. So we can actually really look like a lot of different deserts. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that.
Yeah, on my one of my last films, Stargirl, it was supposed to be Arizona, and what we did is we actually found some really great desert just south of Albuquerque, and we made our own saguaro cactuses, stuck them in the background, and voila, we had Arizona. So it definitely can double for California, Arizona, West Texas, any type of desert, even the Afghan desert.
Yeah, on the Glass Castle, we doubled Tahajle for the Joshua Tree desert out in California. Obviously, we made our own Joshua Tree. Cost about 80 grand or so, but it was good. But yeah, the positive thing about here is you can get to the desert in 20 or 30 minutes and sleep in your own bed. So I don't know how exactly that works in Texas or California, but here it's definitely a pretty nice perk.
And I wanted to mention as well, we often do military movies here, and we look like Afghanistan completely. I can't tell you how many consultants, military consultants, that we have had come here that actually get a little bit unnerved because we look so much like Afghanistan and Iraq. And they have all said that hands down. So we can really look like, we've even done Somalia. We've got white sand dunes that's 20 minutes west of here. And just literally 10 minutes from the Albuquerque studios, now Netflix, we have an entire area that looks like African savanna. Really looks like African savanna. So we can do deserts from all over the world.
And then here in Albuquerque, I'm told they could make it look like downtown LA. They can make it look like Cincinnati. Expound on that. Like totally.
Yeah,
New Mexico
I just wrapped a show called Deputy, which is airing on Fox. Thank you. Was it Monday or Sunday? 8:00. Everybody watch. We need the ratings. Kidding. But we had to double LA, Albuquerque for LA, which is always a challenge. But you look at the show, and using some very minimal visual effects, we tie Albuquerque into looking like LA a lot. There was a small unit that we did do in LA just to bring in the ocean part of it and bigger parts of downtown and iconic Griffith Park and areas like that to complement the Albuquerque part. But yeah, and another show, for example, going all the way to the other spectrum is The Night Shift, where we played Albuquerque for San Antonio, Texas, and Afghanistan. So anybody who followed that show in its 4 seasons, it was a medical show based in San Antonio where our doctors were also in the armed forces, and they were going over to Afghanistan, fighting over there. Again, using the plot that Shani mentioned earlier, right outside the studios to build several different sets that match Afghanistan pretty nice.
I'm dying to see the Kristen Wiig film. Can you tell us anything more about it? It was shot here. You said you shot here.
It was mostly shot down in Mexico, but they came here for 1 week to do filming, of which they were so ecstatic to be here after filming down in Mexico. We ended up having various looks. So Albuquerque doubled for Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a Florida swamp. We had a motel which doubled as a kind of downtrodden little motel. And also we had suburban neighborhoods. We also doubled as Nebraska. So we had all different looks within a matter of a week. So we had like, I don't know, something like 18 locations in 5 days and 24 sets.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
So on that note, talk about the ease of, for all of you, the ease of getting permits here, and things like getting a street closed down versus if you had to do that in LA or in Santa Clarita, where I live, in California. For example, I was told, this was on a Tom Hanks film, they had to get, there was a mismatched location, they had to pivot in one day, and just the film council and everyone, they just made it happen immediately, like really fast, as opposed to if you were shooting in another city. If you guys could talk about it.
If I may, this is a great time to give a huge shout out to the Albuquerque Film Office. We can't thank you guys enough. Seriously, with them, especially with episodic television that we work on a lot, the turnaround is sometimes 24 hours, 48 hours. I really can't say enough about them, about everything they do, and compared to other places, yeah. Even the DOT, I want to give a shout out to the DOT, Department of Transportation. It helps us close highways. Turnaround permits, now it's in 48 to 72 hours. It used to be 2 weeks, so
To a month.
things have escalated towards the positive in that regard, for sure.
To that point, I would like to mention that, as we all know, we often get the request the day before something goes wrong, and they say, we need a new location for tomorrow. I don't think I've ever been on a show or a movie that has not happened consistently. So one of the things that's pretty amazing here is we work so closely with both the county, state, and city offices, and often the land offices, so that when we're in a bind and we have to find a piece of land very quickly, our go-to is often state, county, or city-owned, especially county and city, because we know that they will work with us, and we know that we're going to have that location the next day. So we utilize that relationship all the time, and they always come through for us.
I was in talking to Paula earlier about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Tell us about how the locations are they're characters on that show. I mean, I was talking about Michael Mondo's the restaurant and Chuck's house and everything. Just tell us about that journey from script to physical choice. Location.
Yeah, they are Vince Gilligan, Peter Gould, that writing staff. Albuquerque is a huge character for them. It's as important as Walter White, as Hank, as anybody else, as Saul. One example, since you hit on Chuck's house, for any of you who watch the show, has no electricity. So when I started scouting for that home, I needed to find a home that looked like a missing tooth in a mouth, is how it was described, within the neighborhood. As in, the whole neighborhood needs to be lit up, but right in the middle of that neighborhood, it needs to feel like there's a missing tooth of this beautiful neighborhood, which is Chuck's house, which is totally abandoned of electricity or whatnot. But it's that kind of descriptive things that this writing staff does, and I'll point out that a lot of times, they start the writers' room 4 months in advance. They're writing right now, and we're not going to shoot till September. But I may get a phone call in a week and say, "Hey, we're putting this up on the board. What do you think? Is that doable? Is that attainable? We just want to put it out there." So, with that writing crew and how effective they are, I get a lot of head time, leeway to start looking for stuff.
Now, the interior of Chuck's house, is that a soundstage, or is that really the interior of that house?
That is one of the only stage sets that we have. Kim's apartment, Chuck's house, Gus's office, little closet office in the back of Pollos, and Saul's little office in the back of the nail salon. Those are about
And
the
the
only
meth
sets we
lab.
have.
And the meth lab, because you see it's...
Well, the meth lab for Breaking Bad, yeah. Talking about
And the
Saul,
new
and then
one-
the only other set is a lawyer's office. 85% of that show is on location.
Now, whenever we see a desert face-off, whether it's Gus and Saul or Walter and Gus, is it always the same desert, or do you move around from desert to desert?
We move around depending on our schedule. Sometimes we'll be within the same desert in close proximity to the studio, but we do always try to mix it up. So we'll go to different areas, or we'll bring in an element of set dressing to mix it up a little bit. But if the schedule allows and we have the time, we like to venture out and go to new places all the time.
Excellent.
I'd like to just say that I think all locations are a character. You can't just sit, it's not just coming from the script, but it's like when we're out scouting, we have to also think about what's going on in there. So for me, it all starts with the location. I mean, you have a script, but if you don't have the location, you don't have anywhere to shoot, right? And from there, it's the building blocks for the production designer, for the set decorator, for every other department to come in. And I really feel that we are the building block of the character for that scene by finding the correct location.
Before we go today, anything you'd all like to add about shooting here in New Mexico? Anything else we haven't covered?
I think one thing I would like to bring up, besides the fact that we really literally can mimic so many different places, and as stated earlier, we can't do tropical, and we generally can't do seaside, but now with computer, generated images we can. But everything else we can get here, and all of us have been asked for absolutely everything else. But I would like to say, and I think that this is very different than a lot of other cities, all of us know each other and all of us work very tightly with each other. And we are in constant communication when we're all in production, just in case somebody might be stepping on somebody's toes, or let's say we both like the same road that we would like to shut down. We actually call each other up and say, how can we make this work? And so that everybody is made happy, every production is made happy, and we work incredibly hard at keeping that kind of communication and relationship working so that we are able to service every single production at any given time.
Exactly. And also, sorry, Christian, I can't say enough but how many accolades we have gotten for our crew and our department here from productions all over the world, actually.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on what Shani and Deborah are saying. It is like a family here. We're not, I was asked earlier, do you guys compete for stuff? We don't really compete, and on the contrary, the three of us up here plus the other location managers that can't be here at the panel, we're constantly training new people because as you guys can see, it's an expanding business, it's growing, and we need more local hire. A, it helps the production company save money, and B, it provides jobs for people here. The other aspect of Albuquerque I'd like to touch on is financially. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to shoot here. The fees are moderate. That's another part of our communication is we keep the fees at a certain level where, the public is winning and the production company is winning. It's like a win-win is what I call it. Our mentality is let's make sure we're not lowballing anybody, but let's also make sure they're not taking advantage of the production company either, so they'll want to come here, more money on the screen, and things of that nature.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.